Hello, Deep Mindfulness Collective. This right here, right now, is the joy of being a live stream coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. And if you're joining us anywhere other than twitch.tv/deepmindfulness, well, welcome. Glad you're joining. And most of the discussion is happening over here. Lovely to have folks here with us. As always, beep, boop, 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 beep, boop. We're going to be having a good time today. Wanted you folks to know that this is our Freedom Fridays, and so we're going to be talking a little bit about liberation and the liberation process. We actually talk about that not infrequently, but that's what our questions are focused on here. Beep, beep, boop, 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 is where is everyone coming from? Where are you at? Of course, we're coming to you live from Brooklyn, which we're very happy to be here with you. It's been pretty crazy here. Things are probably as intense where you are as they are where we are, but things are crazy. We're at the center of one of the epicenters of the pandemic, and thankfully one of the epicenters of the nonviolent protests that are happening. As I try to rearrange the microphone to be out of my damn way. So, yeah, folks, where are you coming from? What brings you here? Look at that. It's out of my way and out of the shot. Oh, but I'm blocking Nick. Nick, you're invisible. You're blocked. JGBKNYC. Gene from Brooklyn, welcome. Brooklyn in the house. Double time Brooklyn here. Bloody Dior, hello from Hawaii. Welcome there. Oh, folks, this camera is going to freeze all day long. Just want you to let you know we're working on it, but we don't know why that is. I keep loving the funny faces that I seem to make the instant the camera freezes. I'm like, I look completely normal 99% of the time, and then for one frame out of every 10 minutes, I go, huh? And then it freezes. So, yeah, where are folks coming from? We got Brooklyn, we got Hawaii. Maybe that's it. Maybe everyone's just completely secluded to those two sides of the coasts of the United States. Okay, folks, I wanted to, as people begin to roll in and let us know where on earth they are coming from. Well, that's a reason the stream might be a little glitchy. Too many windows open over there. Okay. Looking up this video, I want to watch this video a little later on. Let me make sure. Yeah, so I want to watch this video a little later on. So something really interesting that is something that we can do if we're not necessarily big protesters or are not in a place where there's the ability to protest, but some action that we can take as human beings to be part of and address how challenging things are right now. Again, we're going to fix this broken camera thing, but for now we're just turning it off and on whenever it stops. Okay, folks, so we're going to be meditating for about 25 minutes. If that sounds absurd to you, don't worry. It is highly doable. 2020 CL from London. I made the connection yesterday. I was on Discord and saw that you're 2020... Damn, what was it? Klaus? Shucks. It escapes me, but I remember it said more of your name, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Now we know a little bit more. So yeah, welcome from London. And we're going to be talking a little bit about some politics later. It'll be U.S. stateside politics, but tell you what, this is applicable everywhere. It's really about what it means to be part of a system that we think we have any capacity to potentially change, which is very lovely. Hello, Rory from Kingston. Nice to have you here. It's nice, and I see a bunch of people who are also reflected in the class that we're running right now, so it's nice to see people here and on the Discord. And P.S., you don't have to be in the class to hang out in the Discord and ask questions or chat about your experience. You can just jump right along there, and that should let you into the Discord and give you a chance to hang out. We're about to do a big reorganization of the Discord to pump it up, make it fun. Okay, so folks, because I want to get to this content a little later, one of the things we've been doing, which has been quite lovely, is we've been answering people's questions, or if you give us a report on what's happening in your meditation, we'll often answer that in the form of meditation, which is lovely, always fun, lots of fun. 1 second here. So yeah, so that's generally the breakdown of what we're going to do. What else, folks? Okay, so let us know what's happening in your practice. What have you been working on? What kind of practice are you doing? And if nothing else, I'll just make up a practice. I'll just make up whatever the heck I am interested in. We had a great conversation in the last live stream about definitions of stream entry and definitions of emptiness, which I thought was a lot of fun. I think we might put that out as its own little solo video. Yeah. Aw. The wife is making me a water drink. Wise seclusion. I thought it said wise collusion from Washington, D.C. I was like, collusion. Thank you, dear. That's so kind. Want to say hi?
Sure.
Come on in.
For a brief moment.
Yeah.
Which camera are we using?
That one.
Hi.
Hey everybody, this is the wife. This is Raquel. She's going to be hosting today and guiding the whole meditation and then guiding the discussion afterwards. Thanks for that.
Oh, so glad you warned me about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice to see you guys.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
It's nice to be here. Nice that you're here too. So frequently.
Okay,
So frequently you're just nearby and then I just hear you in the background scuttling about.
Yeah, sorry everyone for my clonking during the meditations.
It's not that bad. I want to watch the highlight from the video last night.
Oh, from Latasha Brown?
Latasha Brown, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Badass woman, highly recommend.
Yeah.
Great. One of the most inspiring things I've heard in a very long time.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be watching after the live stream.
Awesome.
Or after the meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy, folks. You're in for a treat. I'm right track.
Awesome. Gabriel, Genest one. Gabriel, I'll just call you Gabriel for now until we get better acquainted. I'll just be on a first name basis until we get better acquainted. From Montreal, lovely to have you here. Quite the international audience. Okay, so folks, find that nice comfortable position that you can maintain for the duration of the sit. As I just have a few sips of my bleach water. Don't drink bleach, folks. Okay. We will begin in just a moment. It's not really bleach, don't worry. Okay, so finding a nice comfortable position that you can maintain for the duration of the sit. And we will begin. Beginning by taking a few comfortable deep breaths. Just feeling the body rise and fall. If we would like to practice with the eyes open, we can rest the eyes on a single point, or if we'd like to practice with the eyes closed, which may be easier if you're less familiar with eyes open practice, feel free to allow the eyes to close. Let's begin by observing the darkness of closed eyes, if the eyes are closed, and the overall visual experience if we're practicing with the eyes open. Again, if the eyes are open, letting them rest on a single point. We often settle the mind on the body sensation of breathing. We're going to see what it's like to settle the mind on the seeing experience. So simply looking and seeing how continuously we can stay with the seeing experience. The mind will tell us that the seeing experience is continuous. So staying with it continuously is either obvious or maybe even a silly task. But notice that staying with this experience is often quite turbulent. The mind flickers, drifts, is pulled from here to there. And this is because, in part, the mind might be somewhat agitated, have a lot of activity occurring. It's also in part because often when we're looking, we tend towards having attention resting on a small set of sense data, zoomed in effectively. So see what happens to that stability when you take in the entire seeing experience, all seeing together. And you may notice that this larger seeing experience is softer. And because it doesn't need to track each little detail, it's more stable. Because it's more overall. It doesn't get yanked and pulled from one bit of data to the next. It's simply all of the visual data. If we're here with the eyes closed, and we can't tell if we're seeing, it's a little unclear. You can feel free to squinch the eyes a couple times to notice the difference of dark and light. Just to know that we're seeing. And by using awareness, this larger overall experiencing, notice the stability that this produces. So trying an experiment just to see the difference. Letting the mind just naturally zoom in without trying to make any special effort, picking some detail of the visual experience. One bit of darkness, if the eyes are closed, or some patch of light or gray that's appearing. If the eyes are open, either looking at the single point that the eyes are resting on or some point nearby in the near periphery, right near that point. And see how continuous you can make this process, unbroken, unagitated. Just assessing what is the difficulty level here. Is this easy, medium, hard? To stay with this with total continuity. And then switching to the overall seeing experience, all seeing together. And assessing how is continuity in this process. Easy, medium, hard. And of course, at times distraction arises, and that's fine. Allowing ourselves to make a shift now, letting go of just observing the visual experience. I'd like us to observe the self experience. Typically, people experience self as a kind of ongoing character, the one that the mind tells us is experiencing the world. This is the central figure that the world occurs to. Usually this self is experienced as occurring in the head, in the chest, sometimes behind the eyes, sometimes in the sternum, this kind of thing. And we're going to use a simple phrase just to notice what the experience of identifying with the self is. The simple phrase is, this is me. This is me. Maybe even, I'm right here. Just to get a sense of where the I, the me experience is. And now observing where the world is. We tend to define inside and outside as me and not me. So the world is typically experienced as everything that is not this self. Our sense of the world around us. Noticing that these two have a very clear spatial relationship. There's the center of the world, me, and there's the world revolving and extending out from me. In the mind, we can label these two. This is me, and this is the world. This is me, this is the world. Noticing this duality that the mind produces quite easily. Noticing the sense of separation. Here's me, and there's a fuzzy dividing line, but there's clearly not me. There's the world around, the environment that I either imagine that I'm in now, or if the eyes are open, that I see that I'm in now. And so we're observing difference here. Now I'd like us to observe similarity. There's a way in which both of these experiences are quite similar. One is that they are both known by awareness. We only know these experiences because the mind presents them to us. So noticing that the knowing part of the mind is equally as in contact with the outside and the inside. In fact, it uses the two to create this distinction. Also noticing that both of these realms, self and world, inside and outside, are more or less made of the same material. It's just sense data. We might not even noticing that the division between these two, the sense of a barrier or a difference, this too is simply just sense data. Now staying with the practice, staying in stillness. If the eyes are closed, allowing them to open just slightly, and eventually allowing them to rest on a single point. That is, ideally not a screen or not text. And observing the overall experience, all of seeing, all of body sensation, including emotion, even all audio. Taking a moment to soak in and recognize that all we experience is sense data. There's nothing but different constellations of sense data. Sometimes we lose consciousness and drift away into thinking, or the degree to which we notice sense data goes down. But simply noticing that what we experience is a large field of different sensations, pressures, expansions, contractions. And a mind which arranges this data. We can observe this arrangement now. Whatever the level of self or world that is present now, inside and outside. Noticing that this is particular to this moment. It hasn't always been like this. Although, no matter what level of self and world is present at any given point, the mind will tend to try to tell us that it's always been like this. And letting this moment, be the great teacher. The teacher we can always turn to. The teacher that is always giving, always arriving. And in this case might be showing us detail. Something particular to our experience that nothing else could show us. No other moment, no other person, no other voice could express this. So letting this be the great teacher that shows us how to bring this practice into every aspect of our life. Okay. So some people believe in time-traveling aliens. Sometimes there's the hope that these time-traveling aliens will deliver us data, knowledge, wisdom from other more developed, more inspired, more awake time periods that we have no contact with. And so right now, you, my friend, might be thinking and hoping that these ancient aliens could deliver to me a description of what your experience was like just now, bypassing time and space and the need to write your report in the chat or to speak your report in the Zoom. But oh, let me tell you, my friend, these ancient aliens ain't coming. You heard it here first. Sorry. Sorry to break the news. But there is one way that we ourselves can be those ancient aliens. To be the ancient alien that we've been waiting for. And that, my friends, is by taking the brave, powerful step of posting your comment in the chat now. Or coming on the Zoom. Oh, okay, folks. What was that like? Jamler, what's up? Jamler22 in the house. Welcome. Jamler says, felt a lot of bodily flow, as usual, and feeling calm and slightly energetic now. Lovely. I feel, just to rhyme on that. Oh, we have a nice follow here. Let's see. Arctic Society, welcome. Arctic Society that's a protest follow. If you're here on Twitch, you can follow. And that lets you know when we go live. It's a protest follow because they don't believe my rant about the ancient aliens. They think they're real. So they're going to create a protest follow. If you want to protest my hardline stance on the fact that there are no ancient aliens, then you can follow right now too. Let's see. Arctic Society, thank you. It was a positive follow. Well, it can be both. You know, I want folks to know that you can protest and have it be positive too. Maybe that's the lesson of today. Maybe that's the lesson we need in today's society. We can protest and have it be positive at the same time. Thank you for that. Very kind. Arctic Society, I don't believe we've met before. Arctic Society, let me know, where are you coming from? Where are you in the world? That, my friend, I'd be very curious about. Monica, welcome back. Nice to see you here. There was a feeling of pressure behind my eyes, okay? It was difficult to stay focused with seeing. It was also difficult to detangle feeling in the eyes. Detangle feeling in the eyes from seeing mental images and mental talk. Yeah, and I think it's interesting. So what we explored partially today was this sort of breakdown of we can see things in terms of categories and we can break those categories down. And we're sort of exploring the different, may I say, qualities of attention and awareness. So one part can distinguish things and break things down and say, this is me, this is you, this is inside, this is outside, this is seeing, this is non-seeing. The other one has more of a an overall quality that has a hard time, like you described, distinguishing. And that difficulty distinguishing is part of the aspect of awareness. Now, of course, during certain times in this practice, they're saying, okay, try this, and now try this. But what you're describing is that there was a point at which it was hard to distinguish between these things, so awareness was sort of more at play than attention. It's good to get our skills up in both areas, and it's also helpful to know that that's actually quite natural. It's a lovely experience. Nice to hear from you. Thank you for that report. And yeah, it's also, we all switch to the experience of seeing to stabilize the mind, and if people aren't used to that, it's going to be relatively unstable, which is sort of, I feel like sometimes, I mean, maybe this is me being like a torturer and unfair to people, but I feel like sometimes it's good to just entirely switch the thing we use that we're very used to and familiar with, in part because just to up our skill level, but also to have a sense of like remembering what it's like to be a beginner meditator, just to know to some degree how much we've progressed, but also to I find it helpful to sort of see that difference and see that there's plenty of places that I have room to grow in those ways. Okay, here. Beep, boop, 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 boop. Okay. Okay, Arctic Society tries to awkwardly avoid the question. Am I trying to avoid the question? Exactly. Or are you trying to avoid? Are you trying to avoid the goddamn question again? I tell you what. Yeah. What the heck? Veritable Vagabond says felt relaxed between self and world, then felt agitated with images of killer police officers, and felt agitation arose, thinking that I can't forgive them, let alone feel one with them. So I think this is a really, really good point and a really excellent segue. So, and this is a good place to sort of talk about our subject. So we want to be able to, and this isn't to say that we have to, I think this is a very important distinction. We want to be able to develop the skill of disaggregating content, and we could say contour, right? Content meaning basically everything you talked about. The fact that there is a, in the United States, we're dealing, and all, in many, many places, we're dealing with, violent and unstable and, kind of militaristic entities whose job it is supposed to be to protect us, right? They're there to protect us, and that's in many cases not what's happening. Or maybe in the majority of cases it is what's happening, but there's a very clear minority that is completely unacceptable, and it's completely dangerous and terrifying. And we shouldn't have to live with that, and we're sort of in a bit of an existential battle on whether we should have to live with that, if that should be part of the norm. Well, if we want safety over here, do we have to give up over here and let there be sort of this unstable violence? That's the content, or part of the content, or one view of the content. The contour is that this experience that we're describing is built out of sensory data. It is a construct from our perceptual system. It's a construct of the mind, in the same way self and world and all these divisions and different pieces are constructs of the mind. That's not to say that matter doesn't exist and like the world isn't occurring around us. It's not to say that. It's from the perceptual vantage point. All of this stuff is data, is sense data pushing and pulling against the senses. Why that's important is that it actually gives us more resilience and more ability to interact with that larger world, to take action, to potentially interrupt the systems that are dramatically unfair, if the system is not chewing itself alive from the inside because it's resisting the contour, resisting just the sense data pushing and pulling against itself. There is a very powerful formula, which is to allow the system to function effectively, fluidly, allow the system to function in a way that doesn't produce excess resistance, doesn't produce excess turbulence or friction, by disaggregating all of the pieces in this sort of platonic or absolute way. And that gives us a kind of resilience that is often not possible if we can't do that. So effectively, from my perspective, we want to have oh, hello, Mr. Microphone. I think you fell down. We want to have the skill to be able to do both. And I think that's really important. So that's where that's coming from. Slippy slidey. That's the premise here. So going back here to what you were describing, a difficulty when the content comes in to stay with and hang out with the contour. And I think that's important. I think it's important to actually look at that what you're describing is, and if there's a conflict there, this is the case for me, so maybe this is the case for you. There's a sense of, well, I like this, deconstructive experience of reality. It's lots of fun. It really helps me stay calm. It helps me sort of know myself in a deeper way. And at the same time, there's this sort of pain and chaos happening around me. So how do I relate the two? I mean, how do I interact with the two? How do I develop a self and a way of being that can navigate all of this? And my sense is that, for what I said a second ago, one is that a self that can metabolize a lot of the pain is one thing, but also it points to values. It says, okay, I value on one side this self-exploration, but I also value on this other side my role in a society. And it's tremendously hard to figure out, how do I navigate those two? If I have those two strong values, how do I navigate them? Should I wait till I'm deeply awakened and then, help out? Should I drop the awakening and the transformation process and just dedicate myself to helping people in the world? And I think for me, what's really important is to recognize that these are both values. And anytime we try to suppress one or the other, we're sort of, I like to describe it as like disrespecting nature. Like, I have these values, these experiences of wanting to have self-exploration, wanting to have internal peace, and wanting to change the world. So how then do we bridge those two? And I think the key for me is that I stay with the conversation. I stay with and try to figure it out, rather than saying, well, it's too much. I'm going to go with the one that just feels easy. Because that's fine if we really value one 100 times more than the other. But if we do have a kind of conflict of these values, then it's important that we navigate that conflict. If we shut down, okay, I'm just going to be active and I'm going to shut down this part of me that really feels it's important for the self-exploration, well, we're going to burn out very quickly because we're not meeting our own needs. So that's my basic formula for how to navigate these things, is to recognize that they're both the degree to which they're values for us, and then addressing and supporting those at that particular degree. To that end, I wanted to watch a video. I thought this would be fun. Monitor 2, is this? Oh yeah, look at us go.
So we just went through some.
Okay, monitor 2, we're going to pop a video up into monitor 2. And, can't manipulate video now. One second, folks. I'm just popping this video into what we might call monitor 2.
So you guys have been dropping questions.
Okay, let's try this again. I have this new monitor, and a second monitor, but it's smaller than the first monitor. So anytime I put anything in there, it shrinks everything down.
I want you.
Okay, every video that I own is now popping up into, okay, here we go, this little guy.
In the Q&A box all night for Tommy.
Okay, let's transition here. I also want to see if we can hear this. So let me see if the audio should be audible.
So we will get to those in just a second. And I think I see Latasha hopping on now. Latasha, thank you so much for joining.
So I'm going to, oh, you can't see this. Okay. So I'm going to maximize this for a moment, just so you can read about Latasha's background. So this is Latasha Brown, and she's an activist, and she'll talk about her background, so I'm not going to go over all of this stuff, but she's also an organizer, and this is someone who helps organize human beings to take action towards political ends that are important. And this is part of a video which I highly recommend. I'm going to post the video in the chat. And this is, we've been talking to a lot of students about, people are asking, like, what do I do? What action do I actually take? I mean, how can I actually do something? So this is a very high level set of actions, but the cool thing about this, I mean, high level meaning it's a kind of top down. This is talking about the US presidential election. So if you're not from the US, you can mirror these wherever you are in terms of democracy, these tactics. This is a tool that's available for folks in America, but I'm sure that someone's going to be mirroring these wherever you are, or you could do that yourself. So this is a very top-down process, meaning it's about electing a president, and that is that's a big process. That's not like a small scale thing or something where we're donating money to an organization that is deserving of our donations. Large top-down process. That said, the way that works is extremely bottom up. It's extremely one-to-one and extremely personal. So this is an organizing call and a training call for a program called Adopt a State. I'm going to highly recommend, this is the number one thing we're recommending to students, is to watch this video. If you don't got a lot of time, you can watch it at a higher speed. But to watch this video and we'll watch a piece of it right now with Latasha, and to consider whether you would want to participate, because it's really, really impactful, extremely impactful, this kind of action, especially if you're in the US or something similar where you are. So we're going to go to Latasha, and I just want to listen in on this. I think I'm going to make it a little bigger because she's the center of attention here. I want to see the chat though, so just put it right over my face. So we're going to go to Latasha.
Joining us. I know you have a lot going on. It's such a busy time, and technology is wild and crazy. So welcome. Thank you. So we just went through some core organizing skills tonight, but we would love to hear about the work that you do and how this group of 10,000 people plus all the folks on YouTube, how we can get involved and what we can do in 2020 and going forward to support your work.
So I am so excited to be here. Can you all hear me? Fantastic. Well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on. I wanted to start singing because I'm so 10,000 people get out of here. I'm so excited. But I wanted to sing because I really wanted to talk about what it means to be an organizer. It's not just the skills of the organizers, it's the spirit of the organizers. That part of what we're trying to do is not be transactional. We're trying to be transformative. We have a radical reimagining of America, the America that we deserve, that it will be inclusive and be equitable and just. And in order to make that happen, it's going to take people to do that. We the people, America is supposed to be other people, for the people, and by the people. The government is not outside of us, it is to serve us. But in order for that to happen, we've got to organize. When you organize, that's how you build your power. And so a couple of things that I just want to share with you all just quickly, even as an organizer. One, congratulations. The first step in really signing on to be an organizer, you all, this is how things get changed. Like even in the midst of what we're going through right now, and I know it can be really difficult, but even as we're seeing protests all over this country right now, I can tell you that the actual foundation of this country was created by the biggest, what they call riot at the time. It was called the Boston Tea Party. It was actually people stepping up and saying, we are not going to pay any more darn taxes on tea. And we know it as the Boston Tea Party, and it was the beginning of the American Revolution. I say that because I want you all to stay grounded in the opportunity that we have now, that we can literally take the energy and continue to protest and move forward, but really turn that into power. That even voting isn't about participation, it's about building power. And so one of the things that's a really unique opportunity that you all have as young people, one, you are the generation that you have finally eclipsed. I'm from Generation X, and the baby boomers still had us, but you all have eclipsed the baby boomers in numbers, right? The future, but now, this is your moment. And while we're going through all of this right now from COVID-19, I call it like the three things, you know, we're dealing in the midst of the census, we're dealing with COVID-19, and now we're dealing with this horrible incidents around police brutality. This is your moment. I just want you to understand that this isn't just about, we're going to organize and have some activities. This is about, you are called for such a time as this, that you can create the America that we all deserve. And so what I want y'all to do, 3 points that I just kind of want to leave. One, the first thing is I want you to not think of yourselves just as volunteers or just as organizers. I want you to think as a founder, right? You know, there's a lot of time when folks say, well, what did the founders intend? Let's look at and see what the founders intend. Well, the truth of the matter is the founders didn't even intend for me to be in this space right now as a Black woman from the South. The founders didn't even have enough vision to be able to see me in a place of leadership. Yet here I stand, because there were those that had vision that saw something different. And so the same thing for you. If America is to be different, you will help shape to make it be different. And so in that, I want you to see this as an opportunity, that this organizing opportunity, that you carry the spirit and you carry the skills. And it's at the combination of putting your skills, your spirit, your intellect, and bringing your gifts to bear, that's when we can make change. When we work together, we win. And so in that, the second thing that I just kind of want to offer you all is, it is okay to make mistakes. Let me say it again. It is okay to make mistakes. And I raise that because it's not a perfect, it's not a perfect formula. There are things that you will learn as an organizer and skills from people who have been doing this. You know, I experienced campaign after campaign, but there's also uniqueness and a nuanced way of looking at organizing. And so that's why you got to really be grounded in the moment and be present, that you're getting the information and you got the skills, but you're also having conversation with peers, your peers. But a core function of being an organizer is not being able to tell folks what they need, but to listen. Let me repeat it. The most powerful thing you can do as an organizer is to listen, right? And oftentimes we want to tell people what they need or what they need to do. People know what they need. What is really important is sometimes we just have to remind people. We have to remind people that they have a sense of agency. We have to remind people that this is our country, right? We have to remind people that America's not make America great again. When has America been at its top? It has not. It has not been fully realized yet. But we can actually make America be the America that we all deserve, that can be the great America that we envision, that we have ideas around, and you are part of the shaping of that. So if you remember to listen, and also take time to study. So I'm going to ask you all to, in your spare time, take time to read, not just read what's on Twitter and read the articles right now, but it's really important that you're connected to history, the history of organizing, and there's ebbs and flows, that there are going to be valleys, there's going to be high points. There's sometimes you're going to call people and you'll get just what you need. There's sometimes you're going to call people, they're going to hang up on you, right? And so you've got to be committed to know that mighty rivers are filled drop by drop, that as we continue to do our work, we will change this country. The last and the final point that I want to make is pay attention of what is happening around us. That ultimately, what has made me has warmed my heart, that I am so incredibly hopeful for right now. I am looking at protests. There were protests, uprisings, I call them, in all 50 states in this country. And what I saw white children, young folk, and Black young folk, and Latinx, and Asian and Native American. This is one of the most multicultural, multi-generational. You all are teaching us how to do this thing. And so I just want you all to stand in that space, stand in your power, resist, do not retreat. Resist, do not retreat. And what does that mean? Bring your love, bring your gifting, and bring your power to the process. So as you organize, I will say this will be my last point around a lesson for organizing, and certainly we can talk later, but our last a point around organizing, you cannot lead the people if you don't love the people. Listen to what I'm saying. If you don't love the people, you cannot lead the people. And so part of what we have to really recognize, it's important that we love each other, but we also got to do a little work so that we can really learn how to love each other. And part of that is going to require listening. Part of that is going to require us learning. Part of that is going to require us being humble. That part of being a leader is literally being able to follow. I can't tell you all, as an organizer, my first job, you know what it was? I was the girl that was responsible for picking up the chicken boxes so that I would take it around the polls on election day, right? And I would sit and I was under elders and people that have been doing this work. And in my service of them, they poured a lot into me. So I just want to say that part of it is not just about the leadership of being up front. It's about serving, giving yourself some grace and space to make mistakes, be relentless, and continue to push forward. Because in fact, you all are giving me life. What I'm seeing, these beautiful pictures of all around this country, that's the America that I want to see. That's the America that we deserve. It is our America. And so I just want to offer that to you. You can find out more information about Black Voters Matter. Of course, I'm hoping that some of you all will volunteer with us because we're working in 11 states. And we are taking care of business. We believe that we have power and we are going to win. And when we tap into that power and remind people of their power, we are unstoppable. And so in that process, but it requires us doing work. And sometimes the word is that work is not sexy. Sometimes it's boring things that we don't want to do. Sometimes it's things that like we're scared or we feeling dejected, but part of it is literally standing in the space of power so that we're not transactional, but that we are transformative. So you all can follow what we're doing. Go on to Black Voters Matter Fund, our website, our Facebook page. I usually try to post, so follow me on Twitter. I try to be active. I just got told the other day that I do not know what I'm doing on Instagram. So if somebody out here want to teach me how to use Instagram, please, I'm open. But follow me on Twitter at Ms. MS Latasha Brown. And I usually post some of the things that we're doing, a lot of the work that we're connected to, and Black Voters Matter. Thank you all. I am so grateful. You all do not know how hyped y'all got me about seeing so many numbers that are on YouTube. You all are the power. If America is to become at its greatness, it will be because of you. So thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to working with y'all. We got work to do, y'all. We got work to do. Peace and blessings.
Thank you, Latasha. That was unbelievable. I think everyone is.
So I just wanted to share that. That was really lovely to see that yesterday. And let's see here. Putting this address here right up top. So what that was a piece of an organizing call that was available yesterday. I want to put this again in the chat. If folks are interested here, this is for folks in the United States. It's an adopt a state process where you are looking at one of, I think, 5, 7, I'm not quite sure, but of the most impactful or states that need the most sort of support and impact. And this is an organizing call basically to support people doing very rudimentary organizing. So there's people who are registered voters who haven't voted in years. So it's literally calling them and saying, hey, do you know how to get to the polls? Or calling them and saying, hey, have you mailed in your mail-in ballot, or this kind of thing. Very, very basic stuff. What's powerful about this call, I just want to give people a little bit of context. It was the largest organizing call as far as, you know, we know, in, you know, modern history. There was 15,000 people watching this live, and that, you know, that's, and then since then I can look over here. Let's see here. Since that time, 24,000 people have reviewed this video since then. So a lot of people are involved, and it's very powerful to see this sort of grassroots organizing happening at such a high level. So if it's of interest, we're highly recommending that people check it out. They're doing these live, the next one is in a week. They're doing these live training calls that are potentially very impactful. And so the state that I am personally looking at organizing, I'm personally potentially interested in North Carolina, although Raquel's doing Florida, so we have a bit of a competition going. So I encourage people to compete, see which we can get on here and have a little battle going, or we could, as a community, decide to adopt one, and that way we're all kind of working together and go from there. So again, I want to encourage folks to do that if you're not familiar with that. And P.S., if you're from some other community or you're somewhere else in the world, which is not uncommon with folks on this call, they're still teaching you how to organize. So if you're interested in how to organize and how to do these things, that is fully available if that is of interest. Okay, let's see. Cushion 89. This is about organizing related to not just Democrat, but it is around progressive candidates. So it is fully arranged around helping with progressive candidates. So Rory asked, why wouldn't I adopt my state of residence? Well, I reside in New York, and New York is not a swing state, and so it's not really going to have as much of an impact potentially. Although I can take these organizing skills and I can apply them locally. This is about working with the states that have the potential highest impact on for progressive candidates and for the overall presidential election coming soon. So that is the reason for that. Let me go back here because there's a number of questions here. So Veritable Vagabond, you asked a question that is different, it's off topic, so I want to get to that about pain in the body, but let me just address ones that are related to this for now. An excellent example of organizing was the coalition between the Young Lords and the Black Panthers in New York. They took over a hospital. Yeah, interestingly, people talk about gangs this and gangs that. Gangs, especially in times of turmoil, because they're organized, they often can provide a lot of services that can't be provided by larger organizations. That's what happened in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. A lot of the people who were involved in gangs were actually just, they were just like the logistical arm to get people food and shelter and medical attention, this kind of thing. So, no, I'm not a big fan of gang violence, and I'm also, recognizing that a lot of the time people choose to participate and support and, potentially not try to take down or fight against gangs, in part because they often create support in the community that is absent. And that's another part of the sort of ongoing discussion about why is it that in certain communities, people of color, they don't have these basic services, and why is it that gangs need to step up and provide some of these fundamental services? It's the same argument, the same discussion around why the Taliban is embraced in many of these countries where you think, okay, why would they embrace the Taliban? Well, if you can't get food and somebody provides reignites the system of transport or the system of storage or this kind of thing, of food or schooling or this kind of thing, although Taliban schools are not really known for their being very great, but I think you get the idea. If somebody does that, it's very valuable, and it's part of the reason why sort of the idea of let's eradicate gangs is a little bit terrifying. A Veritable Vagabond says, I think too, though, that with the options we're presented with, we should stop buying into the two-party system and fight for a ranked choice voting. That is, I agree with that. We definitely need to stop setting with deplorable options. I agree with that, and I think that so far a lot of the attempts to sort of very directly go against that, like voting for third-party candidates, and having a kind of protest vote has backfired. Honestly, let's just be, like the premise is I'm going to do something that is, just, it might not go with the flow, but it's going to create a kind of something that will change the system. If we look at how, these various people, various, liberal candidates have lost certain states, it's almost universal that the third party candidate has, topped the number of votes that they lost the state by many, many, many times. But it's also worth noting that often the far right is supporting these third-party candidates. It's hard for people to admit, and this is like painful to admit, but there was a lot of, I won't even talk about specific candidates, but Russia and a lot of right-wing, like far-right, like sort of the kooky end of the far right, were pouring a lot of money into promoting candidates that were never going to win, but it suppressed the vote for the the primary candidate, whose name I sort of don't even want to say because I feel so many mixed feelings about our last presidential candidate on the left. But so that is that. Veritable Vagabond says, I think anarchism is helpful in seeing that American politics don't have to be monolithic and set in stone. They're empty like anything else. I agree with that, and I also think that we still need to vote. I think that if it's true anarchy, then we can vote or not vote, and it doesn't matter. And if there's a chance that voting actually has an effect, then that's pretty important. Let's see. Cushion99 says, Arizona could give Democrats their best chance to flip traditionally red state in 2020. Each state mentions Trump and Democrats. Seems pretty Democrat-focused to me. Well, right now, the Democrats tend to be the progressive party. So it is definitely highly Democrat-focused, for sure. It is not, it's not focused on... so there's basically two premises that you can go by as terms of like, nudging people or moving people in a progressive direction. One is to say, we need to support and fund outside, basically the radical thing. We need to tear down this thing and do something completely different. The other one is that we change it from within. We've just had a lot more success in this country changing things within the system, but strategically using things that are outside of the system. So the protests that are occurring now are an excellent example of creating pressure so that within the system things can actually change. The civil rights movement is another example. The civil rights movement was not saying, from my perspective, they were not saying, let's not vote. They were saying we need a Voting Rights Act. We need to protect the tendencies towards gerrymandering and voter suppression that are occurring in the South. So we need some protections there. And it wasn't like, we're going to form our separate state or this kind of thing, although there were some people who promoted that. So yeah, that's generally the case. So, and that is, what's it called? It's worth mentioning here that, so you mentioned, Cushion, that Arizona can give Democrats their best chance to flip a traditionally red state. That's the structure that we're looking at here. This Vote Save America / Adopt a State is looking at which states are most likely to flip and were closest calls last time around. So yeah, that's generally the case. And also, I just want to invite people, this is really important. So I want to read this last comment here that came up from Veritable Vagabond. It says, haha, F Trump, Cushion, which I think you're referring to the other user here, Cushion 89. I want to pause for a minute because often when we start talking about politics, and I want to check in for you, we're talking about politics here. What's happening experientially? My experience is I can detect a little bit of adrenaline in the body. it's a little hard to sometimes distinguish between the excitement of talking about politics and the excitement of just connecting with you, which is, one of my favorite things, and the sort of fear and the anger and that kind of thing that is arising. One thing that I heard a comedian speaker recently say that I thought was lovely was that, their job as a comedian is to build tension and then release that tension. And the building of tension is where we can talk about issues that are really important, right? We can say like, hey, what's happening with, police brutality? And then a joke can be made. And so we can talk about really difficult things because the tension keeps getting increased and then relieved. And they were saying also, this is a very excellent, what's it called? Comedian. I want to look this up actually, in case people want to see. It was a very good special. Let me see here. Where is WhatsApp? I'm trying to get Raquel to send me a link. Raquel, would you send me on WhatsApp the link or then even the name of the comedian that we watched that?
Yes, she's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so I want Raquel to just send me that so I can post that in the chat as well. So what was I going to say? So that this comedian was saying that the tension and release is how we can use comedy as a vehicle to address really difficult issues. And that said, they were also saying that hatred doesn't really work because, yes, it's motivating, but there's no relief from that, and we just stay in this sort of realm of poison. So as a community, it's really important for us to recognize a level of tolerance and a level of understanding. We don't have a ton of people who are like strong Trump supporters. It's just not the case. And that said, the far right, if we could talk about like neo-Nazis, right? The far right is very good at just chatting with people like, oh, cool, that's what you believe. Well, listen, how about this? And they'll chat people and talk to them and get them to the point where they too believe that, whites are the supreme, race and the like whatever that set of beliefs are. But they're just very good at just sort of piece by piece saying, hey, where are you coming from? I hear your pain. What's causing that pain is the fact that, whatever ridiculous belief. So if we want a better country, whatever side we're on, we need to learn to talk to people. And the idea that other people are our enemies is really, or not even our enemies, but like that they're sort of like, they're untouchable, or we can't even do that. It's been the effect of social media that they've been able to convince us of this, and that we can't talk to people about this stuff, and that it's just like, because, it's like we know from meditation, if you train the mind to move in a particular direction, it will learn how to do that over and over again and get better and better at that. And so we're involved in these, I was going to say organizations, but these sort of ways of being that we could call social media companies that train us to be addicted to adrenaline and outrage. And the more outrage, the better. And so what we end up having are these conversations that are like, no, you're stupid, blah, blah, blah. And so it's really incumbent on us to have really, really civil conversations. So that's really, really important. And when we talk about these like extremes of the sides of the party, like full, what are they called? Full communists that are like, no, we need to, bring back tyrannical communism, which people like that exist. And on the other side, it's like, no, we need to bring back, or we need to promote tyrannical, right wing, what is it called? White supremacy, this kind of thing. It's such an incredibly small portion of human beings. And we really do, produce a caricature that is very hard to escape from, because we just say, well, anyone who's like that or thinks or reads similar articles that's what they believe, and it's a really ridiculous, sort of violent caricature that makes us less able to be humans together. And guess what? We're all freaking flawed ass humans. Okay, so let me just go back here. Okay, Jamlar, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to there. Yeah, it was the far right, fascist, basically, fascist, beliefs. So yeah, there we are. Folks, lovely discussion here. I want to answer, Veritable Vagabond, you had another question here earlier on about pain, and I think I want to use that question to draw a full circle here. So as meditators, if you want trigger practice and you want to have an impact on the world, if those are two things that are important to you. If you want to learn to practice in more and more difficult situations, and you want to make the world a better place, you can consider just chatting with people who have, either similar or slightly dissimilar beliefs than you do, and the people who are just like I'm just going to argue on Twitter, which is like I'll tend to do, and that kind of thing. It's like it's not necessary, because there's so much positive change that we could potentially have. So have this conversation now and check in with your body. What's happening? What kind of self is arising that needs to be protected? What kind of fears are occurring in the background that are difficult and we want to address, but it's scary and challenging to do that. What kind of other, right? What kind of world are we creating in the mind with this monolithic, sort of set of people who are terrible and can't be convinced, or terrible and they just do the wrong thing, or this kind of thing. So just to observe that now, observe that narrative, observe the narrative of hopelessness. There's nothing we can do. There's nowhere we can go. And, I loved listening to Latasha because it was inspiring and a great reminder that change occurs when people take action. And we have the opportunity to do that now. And we're empowered to do that now. And finding a way to navigate that together is an incredible opportunity. And the thing I've been saying over and over recently is, if I could have done it alone, I would have done it a long time ago. So doing this together. So again, putting this right back in the I wanted to share this. This is a comedy special that Raquel and I were talking about on Netflix. At first I was watching it and I was thinking, I was like, this is good, it's interesting, but also I found it, I'll just be totally honest here, I found it a little annoying. I was like, I'm a little annoyed. It's a little annoying. And it felt, I was watching it in pieces, sort of coming in and out when Raquel was watching it. And I had this feeling of this person's not it feels like they're not at the caliber of comedian that they're sort of playing on stage. I know a really good comedian. They seem not like a great comedian, but that's the role they're playing. So I was a little bit no, this is a little weird, a little annoying. And then, by the end, and I really encourage you to watch to the end, I realized, this person is extremely professional, and they're a speaker. And that's really their sort of incredible powers, is speaking. And it was very good. I was very, very moved by it. A lot of, it's very political, a lot of poking fun at various, various groups. So if that bristles your feathers, then don't watch that. One other fun fact. I misspelled fantastic. Fantas. So the movie Fantastic Fungi, great movie, by the way, the movie Fantastic Fungi, I'm in it. I'm actually the star of it. You can see me at the 1 hour, 3 minute mark for about 1 second. And I just got to say, I really steal the show. Interesting, very interesting movie that I watched recently, and worth seeing for sure. And beep, boop, boop, beep, beep, boop, is I'm in it. Weirdly. Isn't that a weird thing? It's like, hey, this movie's great, also I'm in it. And carrying a sign that says Buddhist, nonetheless, which I remember the day we were carrying that sign, it's like, Raquel and I were like, I don't consider myself strictly Buddhist, but it's like, I guess in this context, we'll go with it. And then, lo and behold, I'm caught on film marching with a sign that says Buddhist. So, Maybe we'll watch. I've thought about that, having like watching hours and like watching stuff together. Maybe that would be fun. But thank you, folks. This has been something different. We usually don't talk about politics here, and I just think it's getting to a point in the country. It's ridiculous not to, and it's sort of, for me, especially someone who's someone helping guide a community, it feels irresponsible not to. So thank you so much for participating. I'd like to know from you how you feel. If you want to head over to our Discord and talk about this. We actually don't have a politics section. We should probably create that. Here's our Discord if you're not there already. And we'll create a politics section. That's it. It's final. And it's going to be lots of fun. So the point is, folks, I have a wish. I have a wish to make. My wish for you is that you have not only a lovely day, but know that you have a power within you. And that power is very unique. In fact, it's completely singular. It's the power of your unique experience of the world. And with that power, you can not only transform your own experience of the world, but you can, if you choose, if it feels moving to you, you can transform the experience of others. Impacting people, impacting lives, affecting those who you might never meet, affecting those who might never know your name. And just know that we have the power to both meet our own needs with the support of those around us and to change a world that sometimes clearly, sometimes unclearly can be extremely unjust. And so that's my wish for you today, is to simply notice the unique experience of being yourself. Have a lovely day, folks. Reach out to those who might be a little less fortunate. You'll suffer for real. And there are those who are potentially suffering more, so reach out. See if you can be of support. Okay, folks. Great to connect. Look forward to seeing you in fewer than 72 hours. We'll be right back here. Same time, same place. Have fun, folks. See you soon.